You are tuned into The Art of Software with Martin Lacey. To connect with the show today, you may call into 1-866-472-5790. Again, that's 1-866-472-5790. If you'd prefer to send an email, you may send it to m.lacey@laceytechnology.com. Now, back to The Art of Software.
Welcome back to The Art of Software. I'm talking today with Terry Cutler. He's a cybersecurity expert. We're talking about all the various aspects of securing your systems and your businesses and how the perpetrators are getting in at your system and how they're attacking, and the ways of the various escalations of what they're doing and how software is being protected, and how you protect yourself. It seems like being an escalating cat and mouse game. So with that in mind, Terry, can we talk about software in its creation and distribution? Now, there's You mentioned while we were on break that there was a new breach, and it's home to software from the distribution level. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure. Back in September of 2017, a very famous utility that most IT professionals use called CCleaner was actually breached. What happened was the hackers got into the builder server and was able to install backdoors and Trojans into the actual package. And then when 2 million people downloaded it, they all got infected. So, CCleaner was able to fix that up, but there's a good chance that the malware residents could still be around in people's companies, and they don't know it because they're stealthy.
Right, so that software just sort of sits there and waiting for an opportunity to attack?
That's it. Yeah, exactly. And it's come across a couple of times where if I do a penetration test on a company, and I get access to all their systems, well, it's come across where I've actually accessed the builder server myself, and I could have installed code in there. And if there's no checksums in place, well, then the software will get pushed out.
Right, and that's something that we see in software a lot, especially if we're dealing with packages coming from Microsoft. They provide a checksum there, which is an algorithm that does a scan, a byte count of all the original bytes in the software update. And of course, it's left to the end user to run a similar algorithm on their system once they've done the download.
It's like a verified publisher. It's like a verified publisher.
Yeah,
but that's exactly what happened with CCleaner. They were still they're still able to get it pushed out via the trusted channel.
Right. So that's the problem, is that the software's been compromised, and it's coming from a trusted provider. So how do you get around that? How do you
It's like things like code reviews are going to be extremely important. So if you're a developer, a lot of times you don't understand cybersecurity. So your job is to code the application, get it out, or it might be some best practices that maybe you might follow to get some security in there. But it's best practice to get an expert to come in and review your stuff. Because a lot of time, well, sorry, go ahead.
No, please continue.
Because one thing that can happen, and I expect this to happen later on in future large cyber attacks, is what's called logic bombs. This is where a code will get inserted into your software and is programmed to trigger on a specific time and date.
Oh, yeah.
So, things like the stock markets, or I don't know if have you seen the last Die Hard movie, Live Free or Die Hard?
I think I stopped watching them after the third one.
Okay, actually, the last one was actually very good. But basically what happened was hackers were hacking into the traffic systems, the governments, and were able to shut all this stuff down remotely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen stuff like that where they're affecting traffic cameras and turning lights, and all that's very, very practical.
That's it, and that's where we see the future is like these countries are not going to start dropping bombs on each other. They're trying to hack into each other's infrastructure. So if ever they want to play a political role, they can just push a button and shut down the power grid, or set off nuclear plants.
or go into your water plants and mess with the salinity content and or toxicity levels.
That's it.
You could do anything. Unfortunately, our show's coming to an end pretty soon, a couple of minutes, and there's just so much more to cover. I just want to talk briefly a bit about software and what the software professional can do. We talked very briefly about the code and making sure you're not executing or this new logic bombs that you're talking about. So that specifically talks to script type languages where you're running code that is injected into you. So those are kind of an injection attack, and SQL injection attacks are one type of that, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. And the other thing we're going to be worried about more and more often is what's called zero-day exploits. This is where there's a say you develop in Flash, well, there might be a flaw that hasn't been discovered by anyone yet, but there's a flaw in the Flash code which will allow hackers to compromise your entire system and extract your database. So those are going to be almost impossible to detect because we're not always testing our software all the time, and companies don't want to spend the money to get code reviews done every single check.
Yeah, and that's the sad aspect of it. It's pay me now or pay me later. Those code reviews are absolutely critical, and making sure that your code is secure at every level. We've talked previously on previous shows about the layering of software, and if I could bring home any single point to the software developers out there, is that understanding that layering of your software, and that you need to protect at every single layer and not let code leak through from one layer to the next. So that speaks to the code bombs and the SQL injection attacks.
And even if their code is perfectly secure, we've seen this happen before too. They drop in a secure software into an insecure environment, and obviously they're leveraging the same administrator password to be able to synchronize content to the server, right? And we'll see an infection happen on one of the servers, and it compromised all of the credentials, and now they can log into your secure server. Wow. So it's like we're kind of losing this fight, Martin.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle every way, and just need to keep on applying rigors of discipline, really at the lowest level, at the software level, when we build
awareness training, definitely.
Absolutely. This has been an exciting and I hope an empowering conversation with Terry Cutler today. I hope everyone has gotten some aspect of how to better secure their businesses with our conversation today with Terry. Thank you very much, Terry, for joining us today.
I really appreciate having me. Thank you so much.
It's been an awesome conversation. Please listen in next week when we talk about the do's and don'ts in software, wins and fails, and hopefully we'll touch on some of these more security-related aspects. So again, thanks very much, Terry, and thanks everyone for joining us.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Art of Software. Be sure to join your host, Martin Lacey, again next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time and 10 a.m. Pacific Time for another edition of our program on the Voice America Business Channel. Until we talk again, have a great week.